They started off as doctors,
Medical school and gaming, it's a sort of funny combination.
but gave it all up for a dream.
I think they were bemused. My parents were a little startled when they heard that we were going to shift, transition.
Times were tough.
No question in the history of Bioware, there have been hard times, there's been challenges.
Basically, he had to make a choice that he had to go back to medical practice.
And times were great.
They keep selling. Kind of a shocking experience.
This is the fascinating story of a couple of med students who came together to form one of the most successful video game companies on the planet.
I really like medicine. It's just that Bioware, I like more.
It's the story of Bioware. Greg Zeschuk and Ray Muzica meet in medical school at the University of Alberta in Edmonton.
Ray and I met sort of saw each other at university prior to that, but we were more, didn't really know each other, didn't have the same circle of friends. It was one of those situations where we had common interests, specifically video games, and there were a few of us in the class that were big-time video game players. We had a lounge with arcade games and foosball, and that was our generalized hangout.
Dedicated med students by day, die-hard gamers by night.
Medical school and gaming, it's a sort of funny combination. I remember sitting down for some of my finals, and it was a great chance because you usually got about a 2-week break, so I usually play games for about a week and a half and then study for the last 3 days or so.
I think it was always a hobby for us, so we never really stopped. And it's just something that we always, when we have spare moment.
While attending medical school, the future doctors are able to combine both loves. They begin developing educational software. Ray and Greg teach themselves the art of programming. But their team seems incomplete, as another med student waits to be discovered.
When we were doing medical school, we actually been just absolutely passionate gamers, and that's one of the things that brought us together with our other partner, Gip.
We were interested in building something, I guess, that could help the faculty, and we recognized that there was a need for some online education, some computer programs that would make it easier to learn things.
So we actually built a couple educational things that were probably comparable or better to the ones that were available at the time.
And the addition of Augustine Yip provides the multi-talented threesome with some essential artwork.
One was an acid-based physiology simulator for patients. It was actually used by medical students.
We designed this really simple interface in C that would put up text and put up a picture, and you could make choices. And that was the first one we did. The second one was a gastroenterology patient simulator, which is basically all the educational stuff about how to treat gastric ailments, stomach, intestines, that sort of thing.
The team effort proves to be a perfect combo as the soon-to-be doctors sell their software to the university.
We ended up selling that to the university and having it sponsored by a pharmaceutical company. And eventually they were given copies that they could use Canada-wide and give to medical schools. So that ended up being actually not too bad.
All three graduate from medical school in 1992. They each begin working as doctors in various fields.
I liked working in small towns and doing emerge medicine for small towns and being the only doc for about a 100-mile radius, because you get to see a lot of neat stuff when you do that, and you help a lot of people that way as well. And I thought it was a fun thing to do.
But Ray, Greg, and Og can't seem to shake their love for gaming.
We just started talking about how much we love video games and how interesting this engine looked and how much of fun it would be to start a company and actually make video games. And it sort of just evolved from there over a period of meetings, a period of time afterwards. Both of us just concluded at one point, yeah, this is great. It's actually going somewhere.
And the doctors give birth to their very first company, Bioware, in February 1995.
We formed it for the purpose of making video games, not medical education software, although that was what we were doing kind of part-time for fun, and we haven't really looked back since.
They begin work on their first video game as project director Trent Oster joins the team.
We wanted to see if we could actually sit down, a couple guys, hack together a game and see if we could do it. So we came up with this concept for this really cheesy knockoff derivative game called Blasteroids 3D. We actually said, okay, we can do this. Let's go full bore. Let's work on the game that we wanted to do originally, the bigger game.
So they begin working on that titleless bigger game, but they can't seem to quit handing out prescriptions just yet.
We were still practicing medicine quite a bit at that time because we didn't pay ourselves a salary for over 4 years.
Essentially what we did is we used money working as doctors and from the bank and all these sources, kind of gathered it all up, paid a group of people that we were working with, and did our best to get a demo done in about 6 months. Back in the old days when, you had a smaller team, like I think it was about 13, 14 people, and budgets were tiny back then.
And so are their offices.
We sort of had a couple computers set up and a big desk in this little room in my basement, and Ray would bang his head on the ceiling because it was really short. And I could just barely clear it, but it was a little too short for him. We did stay for probably about 6 months and moved to a little tiny, literally rat trap office with, one circuit and, questionable wiring, all that sort of stuff, of a coffee shop.
With demo in hand, Ray and Greg began shopping around to various publishers.
We made a list, Greg and I did, of the top 10 publishers we wanted to work with. We divided it into two, each of us took 5, and we started cold calling people. And these are 2 medical doctors calling out of the basement of one of their houses, just calling people out of the blue and saying, we have something we want to send you, will you look at it? And in the end, I think after persistent phone calls, we got something like 7 or 8 out of the 10 to make an offer on the project.
Bioware cuts a deal with Interplay, who is based in Southern California, and the result is Shattered Steel.
Communications power in all possible slots.
It's released in October 1996.
Shattered Steel was really driven by the technology. It's what we could do at the time. I look back on it, and for a startup company, it was a very intelligent thing to do. We picked a fairly easy concept to execute. We had a graphics engine that displayed rolling hills and rolling terrain very well, so it made perfect sense to use it for that game.
It was a big robot action game, running around landscapes and robots shooting aliens.
It basically places you in the role of a planet runner. You're dumped down on a planet and you have to investigate a disturbance that's occurred on the planet. And you're basically driving a big giant robot around.
Shattered Steel is a hit with audiences. By 1996, Ray, Greg, and Og are riding high. But for one of those partners, the road to video game success would soon come to an end. The team effort between Bioware and Interplay proved to be a match made in virtual heaven, with the incredible success of their first release, Shattered Steel, which sells over 100,000 units.
Shattered Steel did quite well. At the time, we weren't expecting anything too massive, and it was a reasonable success.
We never really think too much about how successful the games can or should be. Rather, we focus on the games. They have to be really high quality. We try and make sure that the fans know about them, the press knows about them, and that they're games that we'd want to buy ourselves.
But things for Bioware haven't always been so ideal.
Oh, I think no question in the history of Bioware, there have been hard times. There's been challenges. Like any business you're running, for the first few years, you're literally living paycheck to paycheck, so to speak. You're depending on that milestone check to pay the next payroll. We did our best to manage it very responsibly to minimize that, but it's pretty tough. I think we had a tough time.
And one of the toughest times is right around the corner, when partner Augustine Yip decides to leave the company.
Yeah, I mean, he had a collision of life and gaming, I think. His wife wasn't a big fan of the city we live in. I think the issue was they wanted to have a different life than they were having.
Basically, we had to make a choice that he had to go back to medical practice, and so he did, and we were reluctant to see him go.
It was sad in a sense, because we had a good partnership, the three of us. I think in the sense the way it worked out has been good for all of us.
With little time to mourn, they began working on their second game, an ambitious role-playing game that's inspired by their favorite genre.
Well, Greg and I have always been huge fans of role-playing games. So my favorite and Greg's favorite is the role-playing genre. So we consciously went back to our favorite games of the past, all the games we played in the 80s, the Goldbox series, the Ultra Underworld, System Shock in the mid-90s, and Betrayal at Krondor, and the Wizardry, and Might and Magic, and on. And we tried to combine all the features we really loved from those games into BG. So Baldur's Gate was really, I guess, the game that we wanted to play.
After 2.5 years of development, Baldur's Gate is ready for shipment in 1998.
As long as it even got to the shelves, we were happy. We didn't really think about how many copies it potentially could sell.
And D&D fans are ecstatic. Baldur's Gate becomes a smash hit.
everyone was so passionate about the game, it was just easy to talk about it because it was a game that we loved ourselves.
Of course.
We try and make games that we really feel are important to make. You know, we put everything we had into it.
And we kept calling Interplay, talking to them. Where are all the copies of the game? Well, they're sold. We're shipping more, but they keep selling it. Kind of a shocking experience.
Ray and Greg approached the design of the game with the same attention to detail as physicians.
I think we really believed in the power of the game. We believed that it was an epic role-playing game with a great storyline, a good interface. People would want to play it. But we didn't really think much about how many there would be. We just kind of made the best game possible, told everyone we could about it, did as much press work as we could on it, and got really lucky, I think.
Success is even more remarkable considering the staff is made up of video game virgins.
Not a single person on either Shattered Seal or Baldur's Gate had ever worked on a video game anywhere else before they came to Bioware. So they had all worked at database companies or making signs or carving ducks.
The stuff of legend, right, Boo?
Ray's telling the truth. No one on Baldur's Gate had worked on the game before.
They all shared a common vision and a passion. They wanted to make an epic role-playing game, and they were all really smart and creative, and we've been lucky to retain them, most of them actually, to this day.
Although success is well appreciated, the boys can't seem to let go of certain practices.
Yeah, we did for quite a while, actually, even after that point. It just didn't feel like it was the right time yet to stop. We'd only been working as doctors for a short while, and I think we wanted to just, I don't know, I think it's almost like it would have seemed wrong to stop at that point.
And what did their parents think about all of this video game stuff?
I think they were bemused. My parents were a little startled when they heard that we were going to transition from our careers from medical doctors into forming a company.
I know my parents were really surprised when, actually I shouldn't say they were surprised, actually they expected this sort of thing. They thought, oh, this is a fad. You know, so they weren't too alarmed.
But the boys are their own worst critics.
Wait, there is something wrong.
We look at it and we can tell you everything that's wrong with the game, everywhere it feels clumsy, everything that it doesn't do perfectly.
Our rules are very strict.
And that's, I think, the key to our success. Everything is as good as you make it.
They open their ears to the people who play their games.
Our fans told us that they wanted improvements to the original game. We instead made a leap to improve the system.
And then there is the follow-up, Tales of the Sword Coast. And the sequel, Baldur's Gate 2.
We weren't specifically surprised how well Baldur's Gate 2 did. In some way we still are. Like we really don't set our expectations to like this ridiculous level.
BioWare branches out into the console arena with MDK2, their first cross-platform project for the Sega Dreamcast and PC.
We were working on this game with Interplay. We were trying to figure out what it was going to be. Then, you know, one day, Ray and Brian Fargo were talking to us, and they sort of said, well, why don't we make MDK2? You know, we have the rights, we can get them to you. And we thought, yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be fun.
It gave us a really good understanding and a first introduction to the console market after not having done consoles before that.
In March 2001, an enhanced version of MDK is released for the PlayStation 2.
Come, Toast. You've done well. Everything's Jake for sure.
We took the one playable character that was in MDK, expanded that to 3. So you could play Max the dog, you play the doctor, or Kurt. And all 3 of them had different play styles. So the dog was more just an action machine, 6 legs, and 4 of them could hold guns. Kurt was more a master of stealth and espionage. He could kind of sneak around and had his parachute and kind of ducking around corners, using invisibility.
I've no time to flush the atomics now.
And the doctor was a man of science, so he could combine items into really cool and interesting things that allowed you to solve problems with tactics and more strategy.
Good luck, Doctor.
I don't need luck. I've got science.
So a company started by a couple of doctors has gone on to a successful video game career. But going back to their roots may be the best decision they ever made. BioWare has created some of the most popular video games ever made. They've obtained worldwide licenses and have always seemed to make the fans happy. But no amount of happy fans can keep them protected from that evil L word.
Basically, we can't discuss the details too much, but we did have some legal issues with Interplay that occurred basically all within the last year. And We managed to resolve them recently. We had actually launched a lawsuit against them, but we managed to settle that lawsuit. We finally reached a negotiated settlement with them.
Yeah, we should probably check that out.
And as part of that settlement, we're now, the publisher of the game is now Infogram.
I ask for your discretion in this matter.
So we're quite excited about Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights is a Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game.
Neverwinter Nights is a huge undertaking, nearly 5 years in the making.
It's got, first of all, a 60-hour epic single-player role-playing story that you can play through it, multiplayer or single-player.
Neverwinter Nights is just really, really big. It's actually really exciting because I think in a sense it's our next big anticipated thing. It's a chance for us to show that, in a sense, the Baldur's Gate stuff wasn't a fluke.
Dungeon Master capabilities are an adjunct to the multiplayer, and they're a core part of the game as well. The DM can do things like enhancing the storyline.
Your task in this is twofold. First, find the water Davian creatures and bring them back to me.
I'm no hero. I just want a nice, quiet life.
DMs can make the game a lot of fun.
Only one way out for you!
The tool set is the final component of Neverwinter that we're really proud of. It allows fans to make their own content. You can take your a paintbrush and kind of paint down a series of tiles and create an area, drop in creatures and items and encounters, and then you see it in the game. And it's the same functionality we use internally, so it's very easy to use.
For Bioware, listening to fans is a top priority.
I think it's important for people to play it and give us their impressions because they're the best possible audience.
And then the greatest form of flattery arrives via mail.
We got this mail, and I kind of saw this mail first, and I kind of went, like, do you mind maybe thinking about this, making this kind of game? And so I ran to Ray's office and showed me, like, oh my goodness.
We're speechless.
We're like, wow, yeah.
It was a tremendous honor that he would consider us for such a game.
Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic is another ambitious role-playing game that takes place 4,000 years before the Star Wars movies.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is a cool game because it's the first role-playing games ever in the Star Wars universe, so we're really excited and honored to be able to work on that.
So have they met the mastermind behind the galaxy far, far away?
Not yet, no. We haven't met George yet, but we sat on the chair where he sits in the Skywalker Ranch, so maybe someday we'd get to meet him. It would be a great honor.
So what can we plan on seeing from Bioware in the future?
The future of Bioware is probably working on both PC titles and console titles.
This is your most important duty.
We also plan to develop some of our own new intellectual properties, and that's one of our future directions. And I think the other future of Bioware is we work really hard on retaining the people we have here, because we think we have basically the best employees in the world.
Bioware is a great place to work. They take care of their employees.
That's one thing we really focus on as well, is that we try and build the company as a unit, not the individual teams. I mean, the individual teams are units and people work together well on those, but what we really try and focus on is building an overall company approach where you have all the teams intermingle and mix and everyone knows each other.
Hi, Ray.
It's a pleasure to come to work because of the people here. Greg and I always joke that we don't really do anything ourselves.
Excellent work. I can't read your writing. I'm glad you're taking care of that.
Are there any signs of ditching video games for stethoscopes?
I retired from medicine about 2 years ago, and I'm pretty happy not doing it. I think by the end I was sort of feeling it was sort of drudgery in the sense that every time I was doing medicine I always felt I wanted to be back here. You know, I'd be at the clinic, I'd be kind of looking at my watch going, oh geez, I hope I don't have another patient because I really want to go back to the office.
For one, putting the past behind him is a bit more difficult.
I've still got a license to practice, and I've still got my residency certification. I haven't practiced personally for about 1.5 years or 2 years, I guess, now. It's just Bioware is so busy now that you know, it's very hard to find the time to go back to that. And I think Greg is the same way. I think he actually says that he's officially retired. I've never said that, but effectively I am. I mean, it's just Bioware is so much fun. It's not that we don't enjoy medicine. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. In fact, I really like medicine. It's just that Bioware, I like more. It's a passion. You know, video games are my passion.
But that is a tale for another time.
After all the years of working together, Ray and Greg's friendship still prevails.
It's hilarious when you get the two of them together. And you've got one guy who's kind of bouncy and easygoing, you've got the other guy who's very rigid. And for them, it works.
We're best friends. We've been best friends for like 12 years or more. I've lost count now, but he's a very good guy.
It's really good, actually.
He's a good partner as a joint CEO.
We have a good working relationship.
I think we complement each other's skills.
We'll yell at each other once in a while, and usually in front of other people, and they kind of freak out, and they're kind of like not sure how to how to carry themselves. I don't think I had a big fight.
We always joke that between us we're half a person.
I think it'd be a lot harder for either one of us individually to run the company.
Together we add up to something more than one person, but
our relationship is at a point where we're really comfortable.
It's been a good partnership.
It's really good.
I've learned a lot of things from him.
You know, the stresses.
I don't know if he's learned anything from me or not.
Pressure and the decisions.
And hopefully he has.
It's hard making all these decisions all the time.
We're a pretty good team.
It's awfully great to have another person.
I think that's probably the best way to sum it up. We're a good team. The final stage of character creation is the customization. So it's where you customize your appearance. You can choose a new head, choose a new body type.